real Christian manhood isn't being stoic. It's not being disconnected from our emotions. Even the men who claim they don't have any emotions, they're just lying. They just trying to control them. And I guarantee you, anything we're trying to control is going to pop. It's not self-reliance. Real Christian manhood is not self-reliance. It is connection. Yes, I have to step into my power and do stuff, but it's doing life with the way that God asked us to do life with others.
Welcome to the Crucible Project podcast. The Crucible Project is a nonprofit organization committed to creating a world of men and women who live with integrity, grace, and courage, helping them to fulfill their God-given purpose. This podcast will discuss important and sometimes difficult topics while delivering practical life applications with men and women who are currently practicing this work. We are igniting Christ-like change in men and women through experiences of radical honesty and grace.
Welcome back to the Crucible Project podcast. I'm your host today, Roy Wooten. I also serve as executive director of the Crucible Project, and I'm so happy to be joined again for the Real Christian Manhood series of the podcast by Byron Myers, the men's ministry director at the Crucible Project. Welcome, Byron.
Welcome, Roy. Yeah, I love having this time together. It's not much different than our time together if we were just together. So yeah. It's an enjoyable thing to be able to talk this subject with men.
Yeah, I just finished a men's retreat that the church had me come do for them, a church. So I was traveling and all of that, and that men's retreat wasn't our Crucible Project retreat. I was just a speaker for that event. I know you have some coming up as well. But one of the things that really got a lot of feedback that we talked about there was the idea that many times our roles in life have some masks that we wear. It's like, I'm dad, so I've got to act this way when I'm dad. Then husband, I work this way, and then I'm the volunteer coach for my kids' baseball team, so I got to be this way to them, in the different way at work, and sometimes with different audiences at work, and so it ends up, kind of getting crazy where we wear masks, and so I thought we would talk about like the cost of wearing masks for leaders.
Yeah, and I used to really be judgmental of masks. I judge myself, judge other people, thinking that, why are these people acting so fake? Why are they acting like this? Don't they realize what they're doing? And you said it here early. It's actually, we take on the role as if that's our identity. I've heard many a man say, okay, who are you? Well, I'm a father. No, that's a role you play, because when you're playing father as your identity, your kids are going to let you down. And then you're going to look inside and say, I stink at this. I am bad. And so you just pick a role and say, that's who I am. And that becomes a problem. So the mask is really a misguided stepping into a role. It's just misguided. It's not necessarily, I wake up every morning, let me put on this mask today.
Yeah. And many Christian men in leadership are respected, trusted, relied upon, but quietly exhausted.
Exactly.
In a way that rest won't fix. The exhaustion isn't usually from workload. It's from maintaining an image. I've got to look a certain way. I want to show up and look a certain way. And that includes like status in life, socioeconomic status, toys that I have, etc. To be strong, to be the answer guy, know everything. When you're with leaders one-on-one, how often do you hear, I don't feel like myself. I don't believe people really see the real me.
I don't know that I hear so much that. Sometimes I hear underneath what they're saying, I can't let down. I can't let down. I can't let these people down. They can't see me not good. They put themselves in these positions where they're relying on me. And if I mess this up, I've messed it all up. And so that's the deal where they feel like they can't be the real them, but they're not speaking that out loud. They're speaking it through other ways of, yeah, I just, they use a language I can't. It's impossible. Yeah, nobody else can. Those kinds of things, they get to the absolutes, and that is the meta message over, yeah, I don't think anybody can see the real me.
Mm. And part of people not being able to see the real you is the things that you do to not let them see the real you. It's like there's a protection aspect to the mask we wear. If somebody said, Roy, how you doing? Some days, if I really told them, would be there an hour, and it would, and they would leave me sad.
Yeah,
because I'm not doing well at the moment.
Yeah,
certain days.
Exactly. Yeah.
What does it look like at church? Like, I think most guys get that I'm really not the same guy at church that I am at work, or when I'm on the golf course, or in the fishing boat, or in the deer blind.
Oh yeah. Well, part of it is that we're taught that. I remember an older banker in the town my grandmother was in. He talked about his Sunday language.
Mm.
Right? It's subtle, but my Sunday language is, so why is your language different on Sunday than it would be on Monday? We get taught that you act a certain way over here and you act a certain way over here. Now, in our roles, Roy, I mean, is my role as father, in my role as churchgoer, in my role as ministry leader, there are behaviors I need to take that help me be productive in my role. But I shouldn't have to change who I am to be in each of those roles. And that's what's happening. Men are, and then honestly, so I consider what you just said. If somebody asked me and I truly told them it would take an hour, church people don't actually want to hear what's going on underneath. And so they foster this too. There's a part of me that says they really don't want to hear this. I've said something, I've revealed something before, and they shunned and turned or went to their phone or changed the subject or hijacked my conversation. So we actually help foster it from the other side too.
Yeah, for sure. And when, the role in and of itself is a good thing, and the behaviors that we need to do in the role at church or wherever we are aren't necessarily bad things, but whenever it starts becoming when it becomes something different than who we truly are, that's when the mask seems to become a prison, because we never take it off.
Exactly.
We get confused and forget where the role ends and where the self begins.
Yeah, exactly. And I love what it said. Oftentimes the mask is not hypocrisy. It's just a form of our protecting ourselves.
Right?
It's the only thing we know. We got taught or we got forced into being like this young. Yeah. And we live it.
What happens to a leader or a man when his worth depends on trying to be impressive all the time?
Oh, he can't keep it up. I don't care who they think they are. They can't keep it up. If he's in charge and has power over the group with that, and they feel like they have no way out, as if like he's the paycheck signer and things like that, they're going to stick around, but they're going to be disengaged. It now becomes a job for them, and they do it and then they leave. But others will leave.
Right.
I heard a great leader say, people don't leave organizations, they leave leaders.
Right.
And oftentimes it's because the leader is doing this very thing.
Yeah. I think that I've noticed these younger Gen Z, Gen Y, Z, even millennials, they tend to sniff this out faster than some of us in our Gen X generation. they're able to see there's some lack of authenticity, and there's somebody's kind of faking it till they make it kind of thing. Identity can get confused with position or competence or being needed. And when this happens, there's some telltale signs, like things like feedback feels like failure, or a threat.
Yep.
Rest seems irresponsible.
Yeah.
Or I'm just more easily able to pop emotionally when small things happen, like somebody cuts me off while I'm driving, or it's like that this lack of authenticity, the lack of authenticity costs you. How do you see that kind of identity and role and mask stuff happen in some various groups like pastors? How does it show up there?
Oh my goodness. So it is a vicious cycle. We as a church put the pastor up there where he cannot come down. We really put him in that position, but then he buys in, and it's part of the reason why you've seen crash after crash of well-known pastors.
Yeah.
This very thing is happening underneath the surface for them. They're not real. I love the church that I'm in because our pastors are trying to be as real as possible up on the stage.
Yeah.
They try to tell things, all of us in roles of leadership will take on some persona. We just will. But if we're aware, we take time to let it out in a healthy way rather than an unhealthy way. But it's just the setup for a crash.
Yeah. Well, what about executive leaders, like C-suite kind of folk? What do you see in the challenges of where this shows up for them?
Yeah. So what I see is a revolving door of employees oftentimes, and they still blame the employee. Well, they weren't a fit. Oh, I must have interviewed incorrectly. Let me change my interview process. And not realizing that the problem's them. I don't know how many business owners I've coached that, in fact, I rarely take one of these clients on anymore, where they would hire me to help their team and the problem's them. And I can't get underneath that with them. And so I just up front say, look, if you know you're going to be firing people and that kind of stuff, don't hire me, because I'm not a rescue coach. The problem's actually going to be you. Yeah. So they're not even open, like we had said earlier, they're not even open to feedback. They're not open to looking at, I might have some contribution to this problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Jesus was really like, the people he was hardest on were leaders who were acting one way but doing something different.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
I remember he went like, "Woe to you," and he went through a long list, kind of some calling them names and calling them out. He was more confrontive of leaders of the day than he was the average Joe. In fact, more gracious, and even stood up and defended, people who were oppressed, et cetera. And so, I think there's a challenge in that for us as leaders to be very careful not to get in a place where our identity gets confused with the role, and where we're unable to be authentic in safe spaces.
Yeah, exactly. And what are some of their ways out? What are some of the ways out for these guys, to men and women? But we're talking mainly to a men's audience right now. But what are some ways out for these leaders?
I've been speaking to a bunch of Christian business owners through a group called Convene. They're like, they work on their business one day a month, coming together with a lot of different other business owners, like a group of 10 to 12. And I'm impressed with what Convene's doing, because it gives them a place to actually not lead. That's very important. And having the leadership mantle off, they can talk about the problems that they're not talking to other people about. And sometimes it's some business problem. And sometimes it's something about their leadership, some relationship problem, HR related or something. I know that finding a safe place so that I don't have to wear a mask, where I can take all that off, where I can be me, where I can get clear on who I am, what I want,
Yeah.
and the things that are blocking me from being the leader that I really want to be, to be able to talk openly with somebody like that.
Yeah.
And that might be a coaching session, but that's certainly what we do at the Crucible Project retreats, where we create space, create safety, and create challenges for you to take a hard look at yourself. And to get clear. Who are you right now? Who do you want to be? And what is in the way of you being all that you want to be, all that God's called you to be in your leadership?
That was one of the refreshing things when I went on my initial retreat with Crucible, was I can just be me with God. I almost had blinders on. There were other men, and I connected with them throughout the weekend, but there were times during the weekend where I didn't see anybody, and I wasn't, nothing was asked of me, and I could work on looking at these things, and it was so refreshing. I know this, you probably very similar. There are times where I love going somewhere where I am not the leader.
Yeah.
Right. No responsibilities. And I think leaders need to find a space there too. I go to a Bible class where I'm not the leader. They've asked a few times, no, that's not why I'm here. Right. Yeah.
Well, I've also been on vacation, sitting in a hot tub on a cruise, and I tell them what I do, and then I end up getting a counseling session. You're giving a counseling session. So
exactly.
I gotta be careful what I say, when I'm trying to get away from work. It reminds me, this is, if I don't take time and space to kind of, the way Convene works on letting leaders work on their business, if I don't take space in my life to take a look at who am I, where do I want to go, and what's keeping me, what are the blocks from getting there, in a safe space, and to look at, kind of work on me, like in a deep dive, then I will drift automatically into the lack of authenticity, disconnection from my true identity, listening to the chatter in my head more, etc. So, yeah, I think David said it this way, that God desires truth in our inmost being, that he wants me to know and him to know what's going on between my ears and what's going on in my heart, so that I can lead from a place of authenticity and not row confusion and masking and, lack of authenticity.
Yeah. Well, and I believe, because I know for me this is true, sometimes moving towards that authenticity is actually fearful. I'm fearful about it, but I don't want to admit fear. I don't like fear. I don't like watching anxiety in others. I don't like fear, but yet it's true. I'm afraid I may lose my credibility. I'm afraid I'm harming them. I'm letting them down. I'm afraid, oh, wow, they're going to find out I don't belong here. Right.
It's almost like the thing that kept me for so long until Crucible, kept me so long in mask. And really, I'll tell you, some confusion about who I really was this idea that if they really knew me, no one would follow me. In fact, they would reject me. Right.
Yeah.
So I had to keep the mask on to not experience that. But what I experienced instead was they knew me and they still liked me and they still follow me. That was a lie from Satan, not what's true from God.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jesus had a different way of doing it, didn't he?
Yes.
He knew who he was. And
real clarity there.
Oftentimes we pan out and think, well, of course he did. He was the Son of God. We forget that he had a fully human piece. Our pastor recently talked about Jesus being wounded on the cross. But I think of him as probably a young man he was wounded, because the way they said, isn't he from Nazareth?
Oh, yeah.
Who is this guy? Those are wounds. Those are insults. Those are, right? So, but yet he still knew who he was. He didn't perform. And he could show all his emotions, tenderness, compassion, anger, right? Jesus showed us how man is supposed to be.
Yeah. And him stepping into courageous things like protecting the woman who had been caught in adultery from
Yes.
getting murdered, protecting a guy with a withered hand from having to live that way just because it was the Sabbath, right?
Yeah.
He was courageous in accepting from his father that his will was to go to the cross instead of stepping back from it. You know, he was courageous in many ways. I mean, it's courageous to just go recruit people to lead the future church from the lake. You know, it's like, hey guys, follow me. You know, you
Yeah.
and you and you. Oh my goodness, that's pretty courageous.
Exactly.
Take people like impetuous Peter and have him come be a part of your organization. What do integrated men, what do men who live in authenticity actually, like, what does that look like? Leadership authenticity.
Yeah, it is. They're vulnerable, but not overshare,
Yep.
right? To lead in authenticity, they're willing to say, I don't know the answer, but I can empower somebody to go find the answer. Yeah, they don't have to be in the limelight. They don't have to be up front all the time. Yeah, and they give away, they apprentice, they give away leadership. They take their experiences and rather than turn it in and say, I'm the experienced one, listen to me, they give that out and they help apply it into others so that they can grow. I heard a young leader tell a leader this weekend, man, you believe in people so much, they believe in themselves. Right. And what a great statement.
Yeah.
When a leader's integrated, is inner and outer, and is taking off the mask, those kinds of things happen.
Yeah. I think about the many times that I've seen a leader lead authentically, and it does the opposite of what most leaders who aren't leading authentically think will happen. It actually is like magnetic. It draws people to them. It's like, that's the guy I want to follow. And so stepping into it feels a little scary, but it is, it will be met with people moving toward you, not necessarily away from you. So I have a couple of questions for somebody listening. If you find yourself like wondering, have I lost my identity? Do I know who I am? I wear this mask and this mask and this mask. What do I do? Where are you managing your perception instead of living truthfully? And who knows the real story of your life?
Yeah. Yeah. Two great questions. Right. And that doesn't mean a big public confession has to happen. It doesn't mean overshare. It just means creating safety and creating a circle of trusted people, right? It's God-centered honesty. Jesus was authentic and he drew thousands of people to him. We often think, well, it's because he was the Son of God. Study the man. Study the man. It's amazing how many people followed the man, and he gave us an example of how to do that.
Yeah. Real Christian manhood isn't found in being impressive. It's found in being authentic.
Yep.
And one of the reasons spaces like Crucible exist is because many men, most men, have never had a safe place to take the mask off.
Yeah.
And that's what we've created on our transformational leadership retreats.
Exactly. I've heard many a man say, now this is real. This is real.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you want to know more about that, check out thecrucibleproject.org. I've enjoyed visiting with you, Byron. I always do.
Always do.
Any last word of encouragement for our listeners today?
Yeah, just step into the fear. Step into the fear of taking that mask off and be choosy. Choose where you do it. The first time does not have to be in public. choose a place, and just take a step. Take a step. Don't just listen to these words. Take a step.
Awesome. Great words. Thank you for that, Byron. Enjoyed being with you on the Real Christian Manhood series. And be watching for the next drop of the Crucible Project podcast. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And we will see you or hear you before long on the next episode.
Take care.
For more information about our weekends, please go to thecrucibleproject.org. Or if you're ready to get started on your transformational journey right now, you can connect with one of our Crucible certified coaches for a free 30-minute session at thecrucibleproject.org/coaching. That's thecrucibleproject.org/coaching. If you like what you heard, connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Rate and review wherever you are listening, and don't forget to subscribe on your preferred podcast platform. Thank you for listening.